Welcome to Generational Crossroads. I'm your host, Cosmic,
I'm your co-host, Silver Sage.
and today's topic is Family Matters. Thank you for joining us on the podcast again today, guys. Today we're going to be talking about values on family and how important family is, especially from the Generation X era and the Generation Z. So what does family mean to you, Silver Sage?
Family is important to me. It always has been. I think family makes you feel like you have a community that accepts you. It makes me feel like love. It makes me feel like I have commonality with many people.
Mm-hmm.
And family is also important because you need to know your lineage, your any health issues
True.
that could be pertinent to you and your folks, whether it's some sort of a heart issue, kidney, like in our family, it's kidneys. Kidneys have killed many of our family members over the generations. And I think it's important to know the family story. To be able to share your history and pass that down to your offspring. And it's also a good thing to share that among each other. That's how I feel about family. What do you think?
I think that a lot of those things are great. What I was really I think a lot of those things are great, and I agree with about half of those things. Really, all of them, and it depends on what you identify as family. Of course, we're at this present moment, we are talking about biological family, of course, and I think that commonality is great. A sense of community is great. Um, Love, if it's there, is great. Um, all of those things are great things, but I am part of the generation that's a big believer in, sometimes family's not family. And that can go for even your immediate family, where it being either your brothers, your sisters, your mom, your dad. And, it all comes down to how you're treated and how you're valued within this circle of so called family. And if it is a good and prosperous and nurturing environment, then that's great. I'm for family all day and everything that it means and comes with it. But when it's not that, I'm very much so, I disown you in a way.
Interesting. I've been seeing, being an older person, I've been seeing a lot of things on TikTok about the younger generation and how they feel about family. And it is very different. For example, they talk about respect, and
Who talks about
the
respect?
younger people that I see on TikTok,
And what age range would you say these people are? Not
I
generation
would
wise, just age
I
range.
would say in your age range, 20 to 26, I
Okay.
would say.
Mm-hmm.
Just based, of course, I don't know their age, but just
Of
based on how
course.
they look and, other content that they're posting.
Mm-hmm.
And but respect is a big thing. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, if you're not respecting me, I'm not going to respect you.
Mm-hmm.
Almost as if there's not that extra element included by you being family. They
Mm-hmm.
kind of treat them like they're friends. Okay, well, you don't respect me, I don't respect you, and that's it.
But don't you think that if we're family, you should have a certain level of respect for me outside of anybody else because of this family bond that you speak of?
Absolutely.
So
However,
why is that expectation not put on the person who's supposed to know better, for one, and is older? You're supposed to be older, wiser, more knowledgeable, and why not lead with respect? Why not be an example?
I think that what happens is because of your family, you have to give each other grace. Does someone maybe say something they shouldn't say or act in a way they shouldn't act? Yeah. probably more often than you would like. But at the same time, you have to understand, and the person that's in the situation has to understand that maybe they're upset about something. Maybe there are extenuating circumstances that you are unaware of. And because we're family, we're supposed to give them more grace than we would a stranger, wouldn't you say?
Yes, and the grace may be given, but there does come a point where someone's tired of giving grace. I'm not a Martin Luther King fanatic. I don't believe in turning or when, they hit you on this cheek, offer the other one. I don't agree. I think after the first strike, I'm like, okay. And the second one is like, I think that's your last unanswered
So
one.
you do allow
Third,
multiples, though,
absolutely. But
with family.
this is the thing. Family acts shitty repeatedly. This isn't like, it was a bad day. But you are continuously devalued, disrespected, and belittled by particular family members or the entire family as a whole. So at what point do you say people who are my friends or who even act like my friends and strangers treat me better? I have way better experiences. They bring more emotional value, psychological peace to me than my actual family does. So at what point do you make a health decision saying that it's not even healthy for me to I'm not going to continuously put myself in this environment when all you do, and I can express that this is how you make me feel. This is how I feel about what you do. And you are either going to express, I don't care, or you're going to say, I'll work on it. And then you never do. And what does Medea say? She says, when you tell somebody that what you're doing is hurting me and they keep doing it anyway, that person has shown you that they don't give a good goddamn about you, and you have a decision to make. Are you going to be the stupid loyal dog that keeps getting kicked, or are you going to go off and, on your own in a sense?
Well, I completely agree with that. Now, okay, I'm not advocating to be a doormat. Okay, that's not what I meant. What I meant was a little more grace should be given to family than is given to just your friend.
But what if you give your friends no grace?
Well, that's an issue.
It is, but this is my point. From my generation's perspective, we'll give each other hell in the street, but when it comes to people we care about, okay, I'll give you a couple passes.
Yeah.
But me being me, a pass at all is a lot. So
well, you definitely said something that is worth repeating. When about letting people continuously disrespect you and devalue you, that I'm never for that. And family should never do that. And if they have gotten to that point, then I completely agree. At what point is your mental health more important than, in quotes, family? So I completely agree with you on that. How do you feel about extended family, such as cousins, aunts, uncles?
And this is actually a really good thing. I'm glad you brought this up because I also want to let the viewers know that, my opinions on family are going to be a little bit different than some of yours are, naturally, but especially because I don't have a real sense of family. I had my mom and my brother and and my grandmother, and that was my nucleus of family. That was my inner circle. So outside of this circle, I didn't have cousins. I didn't have aunts. I didn't have uncles, really. On my dad's side, however, I do have other siblings. I do have cousins. I do have these aunts and uncles, but I don't know them. I've probably seen them on a handful of times. I could probably count it on both of my hands. I don't really know these people. They don't really know me. So, it's kind of hard. It's almost like, and they are family and I do consider them family, but the connection that is there is nothing. It's maybe a little bit stronger than friendship because we are related. And there is that bond there. But as far as in real life, social interaction and camaraderie and compatibility, it's really very low. It's very, very low. And to be honest, to a point where if we didn't have similar DNA, there would be no reason for me to ever interact with these people. That's how much of a difference it is. So I don't value extended family as much as I value my nucleus of family. My nucleus of family is everything, but as far as everybody else, if we're cool, we're cool, but if we're not, okay, you know, where have you guys really been in my life? I don't really. So, as far as all of this extended family goes, I've never had a real connection with extended family.
Well, it's interesting because, as you know, I also have siblings that are my dad's kids. And I grew up with them initially,
Mm
but my mom and dad got a divorce when I was 4 years old.
hmm. Mm
So those kids went with him,
hmm. Mm hmm.
even though my mom didn't want to keep them, but my dad didn't want to pay extra. Not that he paid anything at all, but he didn't want to pay extra for them or feel obligated. So he took them. And we do not have a relationship because
Mm
it's just not there.
hmm. Mm hmm. Right.
We didn't grow up in the same home.
Right.
We're very different.
Yes.
And even the times that we did try to have a relationship,
Right.
it always goes left.
Right.
And I don't understand it. It just always goes left. So I have just come to the conclusion that we can't have a relationship.
For me, it doesn't even get the chance to go left. I'm not going to bend it until it breaks. Once I feel like it's going to give way, I'm completely stepping back and backing away from the situation because the break is not worth the break. That's not worth my energy, my time. Once I see that, okay, this isn't, and when you're not compatible with somebody or when something isn't like, when the synergy is off. And so for me, I never even give it a chance to go left. I know it could go left. So it's always in this limbo period, really, or this kind of, oh yeah, that's so and so. Yeah, that's so and so. Yeah. Yeah, that's my cousin, or yeah, that's my brother, yeah, that's my sister. But I don't really know these people, and they don't know me. And a big thing that for me anyway is people like to, and it's in human nature, but people place projections on you or impressions, and basically they run with that. So, whatever they thought of you at whatever moment, and they just kind of say, okay, well, this is who this person is, and they try to put you in this box. Like I say, they don't grow with you. They don't understand
Right.
how you got from point A to point B to point C. So once you're on like L, they're still like, oh yeah, that's my brother, and he's from you're talking about who I was.
When I was like 9 or 10.
Exactly.
Yeah, I got
Or like
that. I understand for sure. And people do that.
They do
They
that.
do, and that's because they didn't have the opportunity to grow with you, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
So they only know you from their, first impression or their first experience or first few experiences. So because
right.
so many years go by before you have another interaction, that's all they know.
Exactly.
And the same thing happened too with me and my sister, because we had so many different intervals in our life where we did have a relationship. But because, in every single time you're in a different part of your life. So when they come in again into your life, you're completely different than you were then.
Exactly.
So because again, we're family when we should give each other those, that grace and that leniency to get to know them each time we have an experience, but it just doesn't work that way.
Exactly.
So it's unfortunate for me, as that, because I family is important to me, but it's just unfortunate when things don't work out.
Absolutely. And I don't want people to get the idea that I don't, think that family is important. I hold family very high. I'm a Cancer. So family is very important to me, but I have, I'm gonna be realistic at the same time. You haven't been through any of my dark days, any of my downs, you don't know if you know about my ups, you don't know the path that I took to even get there. You just don't. There isn't that connection. So I'm not. A lot of time, somebody will come up to you that you just, oh, we're family. Da, 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 oh, I love you so much.
Like how our
On
family
what
is when we get together. It's like, I
exactly?
love you. I love you so much. I love you
But
too.
on what basis are you making this statement? You don't even know who you're dealing with, to be honest.
True.
You might really hate my guts, to
If
be
you
honest. If
really
you
knew
really
me.
knew me,
Right.
you might really not like me like that.
I think it's
And
just
vice versa.
I think it's just on the strength of family. I think without any underneath, just on everything surface level. But yes, you're correct. If they started scratching just below the surface, they may not care for you at all.
Exactly.
Hmm.
And my thing is, I don't really believe, I although I feel a bond or the bond, I do not lean into. It's not even lean into that. It's not a strong feeling for me. It's I'll acknowledge that it is a feeling. I will be more open with you. I will be more myself, I guess, than I would with a stranger or with, an acquaintance or something like that, because we are family. So it's just kind of like, and if we're going to be family, you're going to have to realize who I am. I'm going to have to realize who you are. But everybody comes into a situation with, some form of a mask on, no matter how thin or thick it may be, depending on who the person or individual is. And I have requirements. You have to be a certain person. I don't, and that's another thing. I am so good if I have to be by myself. That's another thing. It's almost like, just because we share DNA is not going to make me feel some type of obligation to keep some connection with you. Um, I just don't, it's not for me, dog. It's not. Either it's going to click or it's not. Either you're going to be who I who I expect somebody in my who is family to me to be, or you're not, and you don't really get much grace because in reality you're a stranger. I'll give you a little, but in reality you're just a stranger to me. In reality,
Well,
if it was a thing where it's like, okay, I had a cousin and we were good for, or we, spent a lot of time together in our younger years. Um, and say about high school, it separates, yada, yada, yada. I might feel a little differently about it, but somebody I don't know, really? It's like, what can you really, I don't have any, no, it's not for me.
well, I feel a little bit differently about that because I can give you an example. A couple summers back, we went to Arkansas to spend some time with the family, and I saw
You did.
yes, me and my mom.
Yes.
I saw a cousin there that I haven't seen in probably 40 years,
Mm-hmm.
if not a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
And when I saw her, I didn't feel like I was meeting a stranger for the
Mm-hmm.
first time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she was a little girl, probably 3 years old when I last saw her, 3 or 4, maybe, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe 5 or 6, something like that, very young. And I automatically felt like, hey, it's almost like you automatically feel that connection. Now, maybe somewhere later on down the line, you kind of you find out, you know what, I don't like this person. But the initial feeling is, hey, family, and it's not like a stranger on the street. That's how I feel because we are connected by blood.
Like I said in the beginning, for me, you are a stranger, and that's coming from a mental space for me. You know, I'm not gonna be delusional in the fact like, oh, family, da, ba, 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 ba. Like I said, I will not deny the feeling of some form of bond. I'll give, I'll give you that. But I am not going to say, oh, I feel this bond to this person, so I'm gonna give this person, um, my loyalty and my love and all of these things that I would someone who I really consider family just because of this one thing. Um you're a stranger
I get what you're
in
saying.
reality. One example I will have though, and one thing, to bring it into perspective when I talk about my family on my dad's side in particular, my dad just recently passed away on January 5th, 2024. And we went to his funeral. And even though I've only spent, such limited time amounts of time with these people, um, it was very painful to see my siblings in distress and to be, upset. It's
Mm.
like I do love them.
And that connection is
It
there.
is there, but
Yes.
there's also a reality. I saw one of my older brothers up there, and just his whole everything walking up to the casket. It was so it just really hit my heart. And then to see my sisters and the rest of my brothers and all of that, it was very very difficult for me because it was difficult, so there is something. And I have this artist, Little Mabu, if anyone knows him. He has this song called At What Cost. And there's a line in that within that song, and he says, I love my fam, but it ain't showing at all. And that's very much how I feel. Like I love, yeah, I got love for you for sure, but it's nothing like what it is for my nucleus. So
Of course, but it's very interesting what you're saying because there is some unseen bond there.
yes,
It is a bond there that doesn't make sense to you being that you feel they're strangers.
yes,
But because you are siblings, I mean, it's hard to see anybody in distress, right? But to
but it's
be, yeah,
different.
I know, but
Yeah.
exactly
Hmm.
to be hurt to the point where you're, shedding tears because I know you're hurt.
Right.
That's a whole other
Right.
bond that you really don't account
But if I
for.
did not know them,
Hmm.
or and I've never like say that was my first time meeting them, I wouldn't feel that way.
Oh, got
I
it.
would be very much like, huh?
So that
Like,
bond is there for you, but different than what I'm trying to describe. As far as, hey,
yes.
family, yeah.
Right. It is. And there is a hey family, and then I'm not really similar to any of my siblings. The only one that I was really close with on my dad's side of the family was my dad.
Yeah.
Outside of that, I don't really share too many things with anyone else. It was like my dad was like my main line into that side of the family
Mm-hmm.
because I'd actually have real conversations with my dad and stuff like that, which I haven't had with my other family. And even then, even with my dad, there was still this, I'm different than your other kids, and I'm, and you. But, through conversation and really getting to know each other, we realize, you tell me all the time, boy, that's your daddy right there. That's your dad talking.
Yeah.
And I'd be all like, yeah, yeah. It definitely. So, there's just different, it's different, it's weird. But extended family for me, cool. If it's cool, it's cool. But if it's
If it's
anything
not,
else,
it's okay.
it's okay.
Yeah, right. I feel like because I believe family is important to me. I try my very best to try to maintain those family bonds. And and that, I mean, as simple as text messages, brief phone calls. Hey, I was thinking about you. How are you doing? And they do the same with me.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as it is mutual, the want to maintain that family bond, we could always keep in touch, which is a very important part of it. However, it does have to work both ways. I'm not going to be the one always reaching out to you.
Mm-hmm.
You have to show me that this relationship is important to you as well.
Mm-hmm. For me, I'm not good. And see, this is a big thing when I say you have to know who I am. I'm not gonna call you, text you, check up on you. I'm just not gonna do that. I'd rather not. I feel like if you need me, call me. But if you don't need me, don't call me. Especially if we don't have a real kind of connection. Do we have anything? If we have similar interests, any commonalities, and da da da. I don't really want to hear. I don't really want to call you and hear you talk about much of anything. Anything. But if you needed me, I'd be there for you. But outside of that, I'm not into maintaining bonds. I'm really bad with that. I'm very bad with that. I don't want to call. If I don't get something positive, walk away from, the conversation feeling some form of, that fed me or that watered me. I'd rather, I'm going to avoid it 9 times out of 10. It's like, and it's not that there's an issue either. It's just, it doesn't do much for me.
Well, when I was your age, I felt the same way.
Mm-hmm.
So I think maybe, I don't know, maybe that has something to do with it. I know for me, I was busy doing me.
Right.
And I was busy with my own life
right.
and, trying to figure myself out.
Right.
So no, when I was your age, I wasn't thinking about, oh, let me stay in touch, make sure I stay in touch with so-and-so. And, I just wasn't. But now that I'm older and I realize life is so short, and I realize that you need to cultivate relationships. You need to fertilize them. You need to make constant deposits because you never know when you're going to need to make a withdrawal. And with that being said, I always keep that in mind because life is hard out here and it makes it a little bit easier.
So it's selfish at the end of the day.
No, it's not, because not only are you cultivating it for you, but you're cultivating it for them. And they are cultivating it when they are reciprocating the communication. You're both making deposits. And because you're going to have to make a withdrawal, being that the world is what it is. And it makes a situation much better when you got that ear or that shoulder.
And that's another thing. I don't want you to make a withdrawal. I'm not going to ask of a withdrawal of you. I don't want to have to owe you anything, or I don't want any expectations or obligations to be placed on me. I don't want that. And then if I tell you no, then the relationship's ruined. Or if I say, but an ear, I can always be an ear. I'm great for an ear.
Just an ear.
If you need someone to talk to, I'll sit on the phone with you for 24 hours if that's what it takes.
But that's all I'm saying. I'm not talking about asking for no money. I'm just talking about an emotional relationship.
But what I'm saying is we don't need to maintain anything. I'm one of those friends where you don't talk to me for 10 years and we link up and it's like there was no time lost. I'm one of those people.
I have a few friends like that, but it's kind of reserved for them.
Okay, right. I'm just that person. That's who I am.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like you don't need to keep this, especially if there's no real relationship to be had. But if you need me and you've been good to me, I'm there for you for sure.
But but how would you measure whether or not they've been good to you if you haven't had a relationship?
Don't talk shit about me. Don't do nefarious things. Don't put lie on me saying that, so and so said and when I go talk to so and so, they're talking about, well, such and such, your cousin told me that he had just talked to you.
I understand what you're
like
saying.
What? It's almost like whenever you see me or whenever we're in communication or even outside of you respect this, whatever it is, I'm good with that. That's all I need.
If it's always a positive interaction when you do interact.
It doesn't have to be positive. We can fall out. I'm not saying we can't fall out. I'm just saying, it's a certain respect thing. Do you
don't hurt me?
Don't hurt my and that's a big thing. Right. Especially me being a Cancer. You hurt. I'm real mushy gushy. I'm soft. when have love for you, but when I don't have love for you,
Mm-hmm. And if you guys could see
you,
his face right now,
shit, you would
yeah,
have thought you would have thought you did the worst to me. I yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So, you know, as long as you show me that you have some form of what do I want to say? I have something I really want to say. You have some form of care for me and this
Mm-hmm.
bond that we have, a relationship, whatever it is, then I'm good with that. I'm good with, this is where we operate in and it's cool.
Right, right.
You know, outside of that,
Me, I'm a little more lenient.
what do you mean?
Because if you say how I said something, Shanda said, or yeah, she said this or she did this and it wasn't true, or
Mhm.
something you did that I felt was, malicious intent,
Mhm.
I would first, speak with you about it, find out, the situation, and then potentially, depending on what you have to say, give you a pass.
But what is there to find out? It is one thing if you were out up to no good or something and you said, "Oh, I was with so and we were having a ball, da da ba ba ba," and you need me to cover for you. That's a little bit different. But to me, there is no, because if you did this on this level, who's to say that on a greater level you wouldn't do something crazy? Just like
That's true. I
putting
understand where you're
something on me,
going.
and we're out and had a good time, and there's an issue, and now you're telling the police that, oh yeah.
No, no, I don't mean that. I don't mean that
But the
now.
thing is, it
You're going a
starts
little
on a
far.
low level.
Yeah.
Everything is starts on it's your character.
Yeah, that's true. It
It's
is
who
your
you
character
are.
and
So
integrity.
yeah, this was a small thing.
Yeah.
But then a big thing happens and you go, I can't believe, but you know what? I remember they did something similar to this. Or they did something kind of like, it's just on a bigger level now. But see, you kind of let that first one slide and they're like, okay, I can get away with that. Then you let it slide again, or it's not, then like, okay. And then, you find yourself in a situation, or at the very least, you end up severely hurt. You feel extremely betrayed. And for me, I'm a very strong person, but and nobody can really get under my skin like somebody who I care about. So, and I might feel like I have to do something to you
Damn.
also,
No.
because I'm that serious. I'm that emotional. Not that it's logical, but I would have never done it to you, and that's my thing. Now, maybe you feel like that because I don't know, but everybody's scale is subjective to who it is they are as a person.
Their measuring
Their
stick.
measuring stick. For
Mm-hmm.
me, if I wouldn't do it to you, don't do it to me, or it's not going to be a good reaction. But if I would do it, I could see me within that. I'm like, you know what?
Well,
I'm
okay.
like, okay, well,
For me, I do have a measuring stick. However,
everybody does.
however, I do understand that people make mistakes,
Everybody does.
and I'm not going to condemn you for a mistake you made. However, you said something a little bit earlier about the first time, the second time, the third. No, I'm not allowing all of those times,
Mm-hmm.
okay? But I am going to give you a little grace and allow you, I believe in redemption,
Mm-hmm.
okay? So if you make a mistake that somehow hurt me, whether directly or indirectly,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to speak with you about it.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to come to hopefully an understanding as to what happened exactly. And if it's something that is understandable to me, if I can put myself in those shoes,
Right.
and
Exactly.
think okay, I can see where they're going with that.
Exactly.
And you know what? We are gonna shake hands and we're gonna move forward in a positive manner.
Mm-hmm.
However, If you do it time and time again, I'm only going to give you another chance at that point.
That's what I said about like the second time. And then I'm like, okay, that's the last unanswered blow you get.
And then maybe a third, depending on who you are and how close within this family unit you are.
Right.
Okay.
Well, then.
But if you do, now, depending on who you are, and if you do it a second time, I may tell everybody in the family what you did, because when I walk away, you understand why. And there's no issue, and you can't go saying something that wasn't true. So, but as far as grace goes, the older I get, the more I believe in it.
And this is why it's important for me, especially just in dealing with anyone. But when it comes to family, you know, my inner nucleus is so, you talk about grace and chances. Boy, I'll give you 100, 200, 1,000. I give so many chances for my inner circle. So I'm very, in that respect, I have all the grace in the world. You know, even if it's not healthy, you know, but there does come
and he'll still act shitty for like a week.
I'm still gonna act shitty, but it's still grace. It's still grace, though. It's not that it's not grace. I still, you know, once you're in, for me, you're in. And I expect you to be here till death do us part. Seriously. So I don't give that to, I'm not going to open the door for that.
Everybody.
To anybody, really. You know, of course, and I've been young, and, you know, I've made my mistakes, especially with friends and whatnot. And, you know, I'm
special.
You give people, you know, more than you should. And I've learned, you know, not only, I learned how hurt I can be, where that can take my mental state. You know, it's a learning process, and I'm still learning, and I'm still developing and growing my idea of, you know, family and the nucleus or everything. Because I was a big believer in, you know, blood's not always thicker than water, and that's just the truth. Sometimes your family is going to treat you worse than anybody you'll ever meet, and for whatever reason, that was your walk of life. You know, it just is. So, yeah, you know, and character is a big thing for me as well.
Character is very important no matter who you are. I mean, even down to you and I. Character matters.
It does.
Like, you know, when you were a kid in 3rd grade, character matters. Or little certificates we used to get because we were acting X in class, showing good character. So you'd get the little character matters certificate and be all proud of it. Character matters even as an adult, no matter how old you are. So it's very important to show good character, not only at home with your loved ones, but at work with your colleagues, at church, you know, whatever your environment is.
Absolutely. And when you're family and you are not
character counts. That's what it is. Character counts.
And you're not a good example of good character, I'm gonna distance myself from you. I don't really want to have much to do with you because we really don't relate. You know, I'm not saying that I'm you know, a godsend and I'm oh so righteous. I can be as bad as the worst of them. But there are certain character traits that I look for in people. I don't like people who are users, for instance.
Right.
You know, every time we're having an interaction, why does it always feel like, you know, you're just trying to get something from me or out of me? Or, you know, this interaction is solely for you. And once you've gotten what you need, shoo.
But you know what? And all families have one. You got the you got the user, you got the, you know, the one that goes overboard on recreational drugs. You have,
and don't let nobody want you for nothing.
Yeah, you have all of these members in a family, especially if it's a large one. The way that I look at that is you just learn how to deal with each of those personalities. It's kind of fun in a way to me, navigating your way through these personalities. So there are different boundaries you put in place for each of these individuals. Once you figure out who they are, you allow people to treat you a certain way. You have control over that. So if you put boundaries in place for ex family member, then you're safe.
My thing is, I don't want to have to even get there. Like I said again, I'm a Cancer. I don't, we don't care for confrontation. We don't care to,
I'm not saying go off on folks.
But this is what I'm trying to explain is I don't have the emotional bandwidth for that. Okay. Or stability, I should say, for that. I have bandwidth for days, but stability, and I don't want to get to a place where, I got to drag you to the depths of the ocean because now you've pissed me off in such a way because I don't want to have to set, because to me, like you said, people only treat you how you allow them to treat you. To me, and it depends. Honestly, in my experience, I don't know what it is about me. I don't get it. But once my energy takes a certain form, people tend to conform. But so it never really gets to where it could get. But in my mind, I'm already there. I'm just waiting on you to really step on the landmine. But in my mind, I'm already right here. And it's going to go way, 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 way left. Because like you said, you can only treat people the way you, but how do you see it? Because I really want you to understand to stop fucking with me. I really want to make my point clear because I've tried all of the roundabout ways to try to get this message across. So, like I said, my my emotional / mental stability is not fit for playing that game and kind of like, oh, okay, well, let me figure out, I can do that for a little bit, but when I'm raw for whatever reason, life has been lifing and I'm a little, just sensitive. That's not a good game to play. I'd rather remove myself entirely from the situation.
Well, for me, it's kind of communication, right? If they're rubbing you the wrong way, it's best to say, I didn't like, or I don't like, or this rubbed me the wrong way. And just like you said earlier in the conversation, how Medea said, if you tell somebody you don't like something and they continue to do it, then you have to make a decision.
I'm learning that, by the way. This is something I'm learning in my mid-20s. Because I was very much I used to detonate landmines all the time, just, for the hell of it. But I realized, okay, well, that's not effective for a positive life. And so it was like, then I went to a place where I wasn't detonating anything. But what was happening is they were blowing up under the ground. They never come to the surface, and that just caused you internal damage.
It does.
So I'm at this awkward place in my life now where it's like, okay, when is it time to, show this person, all right, and when is it time to, when do you hold them? When do you fold them? I'm learning that. I'm trying to learn that. I don't put myself in enough environments to really practice, but I'm trying to get a mental set because mentality is everything.
I think soon as you don't feel good, as soon as they do something and you don't feel good about it, that's the time to speak up.
Family is a great practice ground for that.
Yeah.
But like I said, I would rather practice with the outside world, to be honest, because family is important to me. I don't want to fall out with you. I don't want to have an issue. Anybody else? Prior to me becoming adult, I don't care at all. You can go wherever. But now that you're an adult, you can go to jail or prison. And I'm black and a male, so I'm just kind of like,
you have to walk gingerly through these mazes.
I have to really, really, really put a whole lot of thought into how to conduct myself, and it's something I didn't practice in my younger years, so I really struggle now. And family is a great, I'm not to knock what you do or what you believe in or anything. That's really great. If you can do it, that's the way to go about it, because you do have to learn how to deal with these personalities and whatnot, because they might be at work. And then what are you gonna do?
But it took me a long time to get here.
Uh-huh.
So I don't want to take, all credit. Like, oh yeah, I've been this person all along. I never I wasn't.
Exactly.
I'm a work in progress.
Right.
And it's just where I am right now.
Right.
Based on the experiences that I've had.
Right.
So you're still very early in your process, and you're much further along than I was at your age. So you're doing a great job with it, but I do understand it does take time.
Right.
But if you can learn earlier than I did how to navigate difficult waters, meaning personalities,
right,
then you'd be in a good position, I think.
Right. I'm just saying for our viewers that your perspective that you have now learned, I'm telling you guys, start early. Start working on yourself early. You don't want to be even my age and going through, certain things, or I don't even know how to really explain it, because you're always going to be finding yourself in your life. But start working on the foundation early. If we have any early listeners, you guys shouldn't be on this podcast, but if you are, start as early as possible, and for you guys who are in your early 20s, early 30s, 40s, 50s, start now. It's never too late. It's never too late to work on yourself. And it's imperative that you work on yourself. And
the family's the first kind of example, like you said earlier.
Absolutely.
Your husband, your kids, all of those things, everything you can be used as practice.
Exactly.
So family, show your family each part of you, the bad, the good, the in progress, under construction. Well, sometimes depending on the family, I guess. And everybody
has pockets to themselves that nobody ever really get. Maybe your intimate partners get to see, and even then, sometimes not even then. Everybody has corners of themselves that are to themselves, I think. Of course, there's always cracks. But, for the most part, family gets to see a good 85-90% of who you are.
And everything could be used as a tool to better yourself. And as you're bettering your family relationship, you're also teaching whoever you're practicing with, hopefully, to better their relationships and their family practices.
Right.
I know that we're constantly working on our family practices. With our nucleus here, as well as our extended family. Right. But there are some of us who don't want to work at all. Some of us that dig their heels in and they are not willing to grow. So with those, you just got to leave them where they are, and be there when they're ready. How do you feel about that? Do you not agree?
Like I said, it all depends on the relationship we have. What is our track record? Because at some point, I'm telling you guys, I'll leave you for dead. if you offend, hurt, betray me to a certain extent, I will leave you for dead. If you were on fire, I wouldn't piss on you. You better stop, drop, and roll and figure it out.
Yikes!
I'll roast marshmallows over you.
I'll pick you up and dust you off, and
I'm not even gonna do that,
and help you get cleaned up. I will do that, and I would hope that they would do it for me as well.
I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. I will not do it. I refuse, because you knew who I was, and you knew that.
How did they know? Did they know?
You knew who I was on the positive note.
Okay, right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You knew that. And I know you knew, because you told me, nobody's ever had my back, like you, or nobody's ever been there for me. I can't talk to anybody about, anything like this with, you're great. And then you turn around and you do me this way. So I kind of feel like, okay, you took all of that and basically said, fuck you.
Mm.
Basically, and sometimes repeatedly. Because, like I said, I'll give you a couple chances. And so, I kind of feel, and I'm a person where I get real. Before I ever get angry, I get upset. And when I say upset, I mean like there's a certain level of sadness, and disappointment, kind of. And after that, it's like, so I heard somebody say, it's like after I wipe my face off, that's it for you, fam.
Yeah, but the thing is,
You will never put me through that cycle again. Once I'm done, I'm done.
okay, so the lesson of the day uh, is talk about it before it gets to that point.
What do you mean?
Communication is key.
But this is
When you get to the point where you're like hurt and disappointed
Mhm.
before anger sets in, talk before the anger sets
But
in.
there
Is that
is,
possible?
yes, there is a conversation to be had. And this is what really kills me because I'm a prideful person.
Well,
I don't really care to, um, if I'm
tell
being,
you you heard
if
me.
I'm being, not only that, but if how I feel about you, what you mean to my life, like I said, if I consider you of any importance, I expect for you to be around. And I expect to walk through life together. And then it's like once I kind of shed my pride and then you still do what you do, it's like now, now the person that I let sleep is going to be front and center for you because, you took advantage of it's almost like now you get the monster because you took advantage of the baby. It's kind of how I feel.
Oh, interesting.
That's how I would explain it.
Well, I would say that, everybody feels differently about many things. Everybody approaches things differently than others. All I can say is that life has humbled me in so many ways.
Mm-hmm.
Some ways I wish I didn't have to experience,
Mm-hmm.
but those are my cards. And I just look at things a little differently when it comes to human beings because we're only human. Nobody does everything right all the time. And I've tried to teach myself that and try to look at situations and look at others again. My favorite word these days is with grace.
And to add to what Silver Sage is saying, for anybody out there who you have a tumultuous relationship with your family or a family member, anything like that, I would encourage you to ask yourself, are they just this way with me or is this who they are as a person? Because that is also a big factor because some things are your fault. It's your fault that you're not accepting who this person is as an
Right.
individual.
Right.
And that's also important. You do have to give people grace in that respect because it's, everybody's out here either learning or stumbling and falling. Everybody's stumbling and falling. Not everybody's learning. So that's also another thing because then it's not personal. You might feel like, yeah, like I was saying earlier, but yeah, it was this person to you. I like had a really rough 3 years in that cycle for me. And I kind of had to get to a point to realize, you know, it was my decision to be said person to someone I knew wasn't deserving or could not match the energy. And you also have to take that into account, decide if you're a person who can match energy. Can I just deal with you on a acquaintance level, even though you're family? Can I, just, accept you for who you are and give you the space to be who you are while staying, out of range of being hurt or, offended or anything like that. And maybe that'll, if anything else, it'll help lessen your inner turmoil for yourself. Um, if you can take responsibility for the part that you played and the reason why you feel the way you feel. But if they're just like that to you, fuck them. Fuck them. Still forgive them because you don't want to, you don't want to run yourself into the ground and ruin, other relationships, because it's all going to play out into everything else that you do. Um, or someone might have a characteristic that person has, and then you just chalk them up to be like this person, and you have all this animosity, and now you're all triggered. Forgiveness is important. And that's all I would have to say to that anyway. Really analyze the situation and make a smart decision.
I agree with that, Cosmic. I do agree with that. I believe that, just don't sweat the small stuff when you're dealing with the people that you love, because it's not worth it in the end. And again, life is too short. Hold the ones dear to you that are, and the ones that are distant, have you done everything you can to bring them back in the fold?
Are into the fold at all, and do they deserve to even be there? It's like, if you're distant, you're distant for a reason. It's like,
Not always, Cosmic, not always.
To me,
life happens to people.
If we never,
life happens to people, which may cause them to be distant. That's not always the case, but of course, at some point it is, but not always.
I don't usually hold that excuse for people.
It's not an excuse; it's a reality.
It's an excuse on my end because I make it very clear that like I said, once I can value you to be someone of importance to me, I have made a decision to accept whatever comes with that, whether it be to my detriment or not. So, and I've made it very clear to you of this. And, it doesn't matter what it is you do or you are, whatever the case may be, I intend to walk through life together, and if you choose to exit stage left, I want you to stand on that decision that you made.
Well, I understand what you're saying, but I think in essence you are expecting someone to think the way you do.
It's not
about relationships.
It's not think the way I do, but be brave enough to take a chance.
Well, I would, I respect what you're saying and respect that outlook. I just feel slightly differently about it. We agree on a lot of things. But on some things, we disagree. And I think that has to do with potentially age or just who we are in general.
It's the generational difference.
Potentially, generational crossroads, across that many axes. So I think I am done.
That's all you have for them today?
I am done, and that's all I have for you guys today. You guys about today also.
If you don't have family, be yourself, be who you are, and the right people will flock to you, and that will be your family. And you can also take any tidbits of information or advice you've learned here when it comes to biological family and apply it to those situations as well. Yeah, guys, tell me what your guys' thoughts are on family, some experiences you have. Why are you never gonna forgive that one family member? Maybe I'll reply, and level with you. Make sure to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Patreon. And anything else?
That's all. Thank you guys for meeting us here again.
And that'll be it, guys. Thank you for listening to Generational Crossroads. This is your host, Cosmic, gone.